Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast. And welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
One night when I was in college, my more popular friend Jeff invited me to this huge party. It seemed like everybody at our school was packed into this one house getting shit-faced. Party was pretty fun until about 1 o'clock when I just started to get tired and wanted to sleep. I was planning to crash at the house, but it was way too crowded for that. And everyone was sort of drunk and out of control, trying to find a place to pass out or hook up. Decide to just walk the 2.5 miles back to my dorm. Jeff, his girlfriend, and another sort of weird, quiet guy named Kyle decided to accompany me. Beat the crowd leaving the party so the streets were totally empty. We are in a quiet residential area, and everything is perfectly still and silent. After drunkenly trudging several blocks towards home, Kyle calmly informs us that somebody is following us. Look behind us and see this big lanky dude, 1.5 blocks behind us. Jeff calmly suggests that he obviously is coming from the same party as us, but I'm not so sure. My first impression of this guy was that he was some weirdly tall homeless guy with a gimpy leg. Cannot make out anything except this weird silhouette wobbling toward us. Whatever. There are 3 of us guys and only one gimpy hobo. We dropped Jeff's girlfriend off at her house about halfway home. The homeless guy is still behind us, but far enough away to not be a threat. After about 15 minutes more of walking, Jeff realizes that his girlfriend left her house key in his jacket. Decide we have to go back to her house or she will be stuck outside all night. Do not really want to go back. I am pretty drunk and tired too, but I do not feel like going off on my own. Something about the ambience of the night had changed. The air seemed like it was really damp and charged with static electricity or something. It stung a little when I breathed through my nose. Soon we get back to Jeff's girlfriend's house. She is nowhere to be seen. Suddenly Kyle says, "Look," still calm, but with a bit of a quiver in his voice. We look down a side street and see the guy we saw earlier, standing stock still in the middle of the street, silhouetted by the sodium arc streetlights and staring at us. We get creeped out and retreat into his girlfriend's yard and sit on a little bench in front of her house. Suddenly Jeff gets a call from his girlfriend. He answers it while me and Kyle keep an eye on the stranger. He is not moving at all, just standing with his head cocked back staring at us. She sounds a lot more cheerful than you would expect of a tired drunk girl who has been stuck outside her house with a scary stranger for half an hour. After a really weird and repetitive conversation with Jeff, she asks us to meet her at a park down Eldridge Street. Feel a shiver run up my spine. The air feels like it is sizzling on my tongue. On a hunch, look up at the street sign leading to the stranger. Eldridge. Nope. Jeff wants to go meet her, obviously, but me and Kyle are really against it. Jeff reasons that the homeless guy is probably harmless anyways. I look up to see if he has moved. The stranger is gone from the road. I am terrified. Jeff convinces us to start moving anyways. We reluctantly start to make our way down the road towards the park, even though shivers are running up and down my spine like firecrackers at this point. The air tastes like nosebleeds and phlegm. We reach the park and there is no sign of Jeff's girl. I used to go to this park as a kid. It is a lot scarier than I remembered it being. Half the street lamps are busted, The cones of light are few and far between. I am looking around the park when I make out a shape under a distant light. Nope, 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 no. It is the stranger, walking in agitated circles, throwing its arms up and down. Me and Jeff and Kyle watch it in a trance for several long moments. The figure just keeps going in a perfect circle, throwing its arms up and down with all its might and stomping its feet. Eventually, Jeff swallows and whispers, "Maybe we." Instantly, the stranger freezes and turns toward us. The air is suddenly filled with a nauseating stench of burning ozone. Eyes start to water in shock and fear. We stare back at the figure for a few seconds until suddenly we hear a cheerful voice. "Hey guys, come over here." "I am right over here." "Hey guys, come over here." All said with a vaguely emotionless, cheerful inflection. Does not even sound like it is expecting any kind of response, but it is quite obviously Jeff's girl. Jeff chokes out, "Babe, come over here right now." There is a long pause. The stranger is still staring at us. "Hey guys, I'm right over here. You should come over here." A few seconds pass. Kyle lets out a little whimper and immediately swallows to cover it up. The figure is moving towards us, hunched over, taking long strides on its lanky legs, staying low to the ground, probing the grass with its fingers as it moves toward us. Like no human movement I have ever seen before. We watch in stunned silence until it passes out of the light into darkness. Suddenly all the lights in the park explode at once. Me, Jeff, and Kyle immediately turn tail and sprint screaming from the park. Can't see shit in the pitch-black night. Desperately just want to be home with people somewhere where there is light. Jeff and Kyle are no longer by my side. Hear them call out to me in the night, from multiple directions. Before long, there are about 4 different Jeffs screaming my name. Cover my ears and run onward, screaming to cover the noise. Suddenly, I hear straight off to my left, in a perfectly calm tone, through my hands as if they were not even there. "Hey Anon, come over here." Freeze and look into the darkness. The moon is shining through a chain-link fence that marks the end of the park and the beginnings of the wilderness where they have all the sewage pumping stations beyond. See a figure slouched into the fence, clutching at it with arms at least 4 feet long. Suddenly it lets out a scream and drops to the ground, limbs twitching as it crawls toward me. I vomit and run sobbing for my life. Eventually I find myself on a regular street again, weep with joy, make my way back to my dorm. Outside the dorms, I find Kyle pale as a sheet smoking a cigarette. Call out to him. As soon as he hears my voice, he turns even whiter and runs inside. I make my way to my dorm room, lock my doors and windows, and sleep under my blankets. The next day I find Kyle and Jeff on the quad. We file a missing persons report for Jeff's girl. 3 days later, state police found her body stuffed under a sewage pipe in the swampy wilderness beyond the park.
When I was a kid, my parents made me join the Boy Scouts. Not really my thing, but I liked the camping trips a lot. We had a pretty young scoutmaster named Dave, probably about 20. He was sort of weird and quiet and wore really thick reflective glasses, but he knew a lot about the woods and always had cool stories to tell about demons and wendigos. One night we went pretty deep in the woods to camp. Our troop was pretty experienced at this point, so we did a fine job setting up the tents and starting a fire. Normal scene of telling scary stories around the campfire and eating s'mores. After rehashing a few old favorites, Dave tells us a new story. Do not remember the exact wording, and it was pretty short, but basically it was about the devil. The devil is only called the devil because nobody wants to say or know his true name. If you say the devil's true name out loud, he will come up from hell and kill you. Dave says he will tell us the devil's name if we promise not to say it. He writes it. This one asshole tough kid named Jared does not like the story. Even though he promised not to say the name like everyone else, he jumps up and screams it as soon as Dave tells us what it is, gives him a shit-eating grin, and walks off into the woods to take a piss. Dave just shakes his head. About 30 seconds later, we hear Jared let out a long scream that is suddenly cut off with a chuck noise like all the air got sucked out of his body. Everyone is terrified, but Dave will not let us leave the fire for our own safety. The next day we helped rangers search all day for Jared, but they never found anything. Except for one thing the rangers did not notice, but Dave did, and he showed it to us. A spot in the ground where 2 charred black footsteps were burned straight into the humus.
Be in the woods. Toting some new military surplus. Roughing it to see if the purchase was not a bullet wound in my wallet. Not really knowing where I am going. I am an adventurous type. That tends to get me lost at times and panicky. This is one of these times. In the middle of nowhere, and it seemed to have been getting dark. Take out my global positioning system to figure out which way was west, the general direction of the way I came in. Began trying to make a straight line west, getting real tired and hungry. Decide to set up a little spot to heat up a meal, ready to eat for dinner. It was an all-right meal, minus the bread. Was getting worried though. It was getting dark fast and the forest was getting awfully quiet. Begin jogging my way along, a bad feeling swelling in my head. Begin running soon enough, like something was chasing me. My boot gets snagged on some foliage, tripping me up and over this small incline, right into some brush. Groaning in pain. Geez, I felt like this was it. I probably had something broken and I was going to die there. All because I was a wuss. Then I see it. Slightly hunched figure. Glowing eyes. Lean as fuck. It was at the top of the incline, looking around. Making this panting noise like a dog that needed to clear its throat. Frozen in fear, not knowing what the hell this thing was. It was looking for me. I know this. But I guess I was hidden in the brush. Then I got an idea. I hated the bread from the meal, ready to eat, so I did not eat it. I still had it. I pray to mighty Ivan for this saltine-enriched pseudotack to be my salvation. Throw it as far as I could from my position. Lands in some brush, rustling it, causing the creature to flee off. Get the fuck out of there. It is dead night now as I leave the woods, hustling it back to the neighborhood. Sit down with some friends. One of them is playing a guitar. The tune helps me calm myself before telling my story. A friend hands me a bottle of Smirnoff with a smile. Such is life in the zone, he said.
Have a story that happened a few years ago in my grandparents' woods. 2 friends and I decide to go camping one night, deep central Ohio woods. Should we bring a gun? Now we are gonna be drinking. Drive down an old road on grandparents' property until the woods get too thick. Back all-terrain vehicle out of the truck and I drive them and the supplies one by one to a good spot I found earlier in the week. Have a good time drinking peacefully in the woods, telling stories, having a good time and whatnot. Suddenly all the sounds of the forest at night stop. Not a damn thing. No crickets, no nothing. Suddenly bipedal movement crunches leaves. A strong odor drifts into my nose, not sure how to describe it other than vomit and sulfur. can be heard not even 15 feet from our camp, as if it was there the whole time and just started to move. I take out beat-up SOG Jungle Primitive. Friend takes out a shitty axe from Walmart. We listen, whatever it was, past the outside perimeter for a good 5 minutes. Silence again. Everyone is losing it. The sound of hundreds of coyotes pierces our ears from the left, accompanied by a foreign screeching and grinding sound, only about 20 meters from us. I have hunted coyotes quite a bit in this area, and have never heard so many howls at once or so close. No clue what is going on, but all three of our drunk asses pile on the all-terrain vehicle and punch it. Fire still burning. Gear left where it was. Hear howls the whole way back to my grandparents' house. Left the truck there and rode the all-terrain vehicle the whole way. Sleep it off and try to explain what happened to Grandpa next morning. Word for word. I will always remember what this man says to me. There is an old Shawnee Indian graveyard in those there woods. And I recon you just heard its protector. When I learned what a skinwalker was on /K, I never went back to that deep in the woods without significant firepower and witnesses.
A few years back, B19, old mate from school is having a big thing for getting his own place, in the middle of nowhere. Rock up in a group of 4. Me, Dan, James, and this Scottish kid from work called William. Willy, we called him. Fair good night, bonfires and heavy drinking, the usual. Willy just broke up with his ex, so he is hitting it harder than the rest of us. Getting late, about 2 a.m., we decide we will head off to Dan's place to crash 'cause fuck people. 2-hour walk or so, figure what the hell should be right. First half hour goes fine. 4 of us hanging around 'cause we are still pretty gone. Take a shortcut through a forest and should shave half an hour off our walk. Lol. No get lost. Fuck Optus and its lack of coverage. Screw it. It is summer. Let us just get drunk and sleep under the stars. Then find our way in the morning. Willy has been drinking the entire walk back, slumps down into a little kind of ditch into a tree's roots and is just out cold in an instant. More for us then. Small fire going, the night is getting really dark around us, but it is a full moon out. Eventually notice that it is completely silent apart from us giggling like schoolgirls. Dan has noticed this too. He is just sitting there looking around himself, really confused. James keeps yakking but eventually catches on that something just is not right. Dan starts whispering. I think there is something watching. Snapping noise about 20 meters off into the darkness. Fucking darkness, cannot see shit. Oh wait, yes I can. .jpg. Pair of eyes just staring at us. On a slight tilt, must have been behind a tree peering round it or something, about 7 feet off the ground. James has evidently seen them too, and being the try-hard he is, gets up and starts yelling shit. Heavy grunting and screeching coming from the trees now. Well, that is it. We are dead. 3 of us are up and making the world's reserves of bricks at this point. Thing is definitely coming closer, here stamping and shit. Start running in the opposite direction. Loud roar from behind us. Look back, and there is this big silhouette in front of the fire going apeshit. Suddenly Willy. The beast known as Willy, evidently unhappy at being awoken from his slumber, has lashed out at this great beast in a drunken stupor, with a branch the size of his leg. Sorry, Willy, but I am gone. 3 of us are putting Hussein fleeing to shame at this point. At some point I realize we are not in the woods anymore and see lights up ahead. Dan is up front, so I just follow his lead, apparently make it back to his place. Hold out with bats and knives till dawn. Eventually decide we should go look for Willy's remains. walking up towards the forest and suddenly hear yelling from a bit to our right. Who else other than Willy, crawling up over a pile of junk? Where the fuck were you, wankers? And what the hell happened last night? I am covered in fucking bruises and cuts and shit. We proceed to just stare at him, wondering if he is real or not. Eventually deduce that he is in fact real and definitely human by his complaints of a hangover. Dumb bastard was so drunk he does not remember a damn thing. We head back into the forest to try and find out what the hell happened. By sheer chance, we find the path we forged while running in terror last night right back to ashes of last night's fire. Upon further inspection, we find Willy's log, broken in two with tufts of hair and blood on it. Willy, oh hey, this looks just like where I fought in my dream last night. You what M8.jpg. Since then, I haven't gone anywhere remotely dangerous or spooky to camp without Willy.
Well, I have a story. I'm 34 now. This happened when I was 8. My father had a close friend that he worked with. Larry was his name. He was a tunnel rat in Nam. He had a dog that he worked with over there that was killed by the Viet Cong. Pretty much broke him. He caught the 3 that killed the dog, tied them upside down to a tree, and tortured them for days before pouring water down their noses till they drown. Anyway, Larry lived in a tiny cabin up in the Sierra Nevada mountains. He liked to be alone. He loved my father like a brother. So one day my dad says we're going to visit him. My father calls and tells Larry that we're going to come down tomorrow, see you around noon. Larry asked us to pick up a few odds and ends on the way up, case of bud and some other groceries, things like that. It was a 6-hour drive from where we lived at the time, so we left early and got to his road entrance about 11:30 a.m. He lived in some really hard to find and navigate back country. Thinking back, I have no idea how he even had a phone line and electricity. We pulled up to his cabin and the door was open. Everything was empty and gone, no furniture, nothing. There was a fire pit that was still warm. He had a lookout in a high crest about half a mile behind the cabin. We walked up there, we found his socks, shoes, pants, and half of his driver's license, and a revolver with 6 unfired cartridges. We never saw Larry again, did a missing persons report with the local sheriff. They never found anything. It's so weird we had talked to him the day before. I mean, Larry was a pretty messed up guy. I could understand if he did it himself. Or him just driving off forever in his van. But the van was right next to the cabin, empty as well, and his clothes up on that ridge. I don't know, it's so weird. All his things were gone too.
So, I have a pretty interesting story. Sorry for my bad English. It was around a year ago. It was winter. It was snowing like crazy. And since I like to go out in crazy weather, I thought I'd go out for a hike. I live in nowhere. Wolf and bears sometimes wander into cities, but since it was winter, I did not have to worry about bears. There were a few sightings of wolves, but they were old and far from my place. I only took my pocket knife, a backpack, a flashlight, some food, firewood, and matches. I walked for around 2 hours. I saw a collapsed wooden house, and I started a fire, used the house as firewood. I cooked some food, and I noticed a weird smell. I did not really care about it. I thought my food had some problems, so I just threw it away. The smell got stronger and I wanted to go home. I was hungry and the snow was so intense I could not see more than 25 to 30 meters in front of me. After 10 minutes, the smell was so bad I almost puked, and I was lost. I could not remember where I came from. I found a really small concrete house. It even had a small window. so I took shelter, started a small fire, and opened the window a bit. After waiting a few hours, it started to get dark, and the snowing did not stop. I lit my flashlight and started to search for a road. It got dark, and maybe it was my eyes playing with me, but I have seen a few figures as big as bears on two legs. I was scared. I even forgot that bears sleep in the winter. I noticed a small wooden house. It looked similar. I was happy that I found my way home, but I had a sudden urge to look inside the house. As I got closer to it, and when I opened the door, I saw a rotting, half-eaten sheep carcass. It was skinned, and the skin was on the ground like some kind of carpet. So, because I am the dumbest person possible, I started running. The wrong direction. Fear makes you do weird shit, I tell you. While running, I noticed a small tree. I cut down a branch and made a spear of some kind. It was more like a really dull and weak pointy stick. Well, I guess it is more than nothing. So, with a makeshift spear and a pocket knife in my hand, I felt safer, and I continued walking at a faster pace. The smell just disappeared, and I was really happy that I am going home. I only noticed that I am walking in the wrong direction after I started to see trees. The snowing stopped, but it was really dark. The sky was cloudy. So, with my trusty flashlight, I still have it next to my bed. It is fully waterproof. It is made out of some kind of metal, and it is heavy. I use it as a hammer sometimes when I go out. I started walking backwards. My mind cleared a bit, and I realized that it cannot be a fucking bear. Not this thin and tall. Not this time of the year. And bears are not too silent. This thing was way too intelligent. I started thinking about spending the night in the forest, since the thing is waiting for me. But I dropped the idea. Because where is one, there is more. And the forest seems like a good place to hide. Turning my flashlight off was useless, since I think these things can see in the dark. So I started walking really slowly, paying attention to even the smallest smell, sound, and basically everything. I had lots of clothes on me, so I made a few rags and secured my knife on the end of the stick so it can actually stab and cut shit. With the rags, I secured my flashlight to the strap of my backpack. It was not the best, but 2 free hands are better than 1, and using a spear with one hand is hard. With my fast pace walking, it took around 1.5 hours to get there, so with the slow pace it would take around 3 to 4 hours. Well, at least I had a spear. So I started going back. I never thought I can fear death this much. After an hour of walking, I noticed a smell and I knew shit was about to hit the fan. I stopped and just paid attention to my surroundings. I heard nothing, seen nothing, and the smell started to get away. So I walked 2 to 3 minutes. The smell came back. I stopped. I repeated this a few times, but one time the smell started to get stronger. And so was my fear. I lost my mind again, started running, and after some time I didn't have time to check my watch. I saw the house. I knew there is a dead sheep inside, but it felt like a safe haven. I ran as fast as I could, and as I got really close to it, I saw a figure. I stepped into the house, smacked the door as hard as I could, moved the small table inside to the door, but my back to the wall, and started to hold the window with my leg. It was just a piece of wood with hinges. I heard snow cracking, but it was really silent. I heard the thing go around a few times, and I could follow it by the noise. After a while, it stopped. Long silence. I could hear my heartbeat, but I did not have too much time to think. The thing rammed the door, almost ripped it out. I realized that it wants to get inside real bad, and the window was a good opportunity for it to get inside. It rammed the window, but with almost no force. I knew that the wood was weak, the house was old, and the only strong thing in it was the door and the table. I heard a bigger crack, then a sound on the roof. I said, "Fuck it," bashed through 2 of the planks, and started running like crazy. I started to see the light and the real road. I was halfway down the hill when I heard a few cracks. I turned back and it was right behind me. I stopped. It stopped, but after a few seconds it charged me. I used my spear and tried to stab it. Well, my spear broke, but I think I did manage to stab the fucker. Last part. From that point, I just ran. I finally got home. My backpack was ripped. I lost all of my shit except my flashlight. I got home, slammed the gate, and the first thing I did was to go into the workshop. I grabbed a chainsaw, ran back to the house, closed the main door, walked upstairs and into the toilet, since it is the only room without a window. Then I started the chainsaw and waited until it got bright. The next day, I was out to collect my shit. I only found my pocket knife in the snow. It was clean, but it was full and twisted, so I did hit something. The rotting carcass was still in the house. Since that day, I have never gone out alone, especially not when it is dark. And even if I have to go out in the daylight, I bring an axe. Picture related. So, that was the single worst thing that ever happened to me.
I got one that sort of fits the bill. Not pasta, though. Live in Farmington, New Mexico for about a decade as a child. This is bordering on the Navajo Nation. Some of our family friends are Navajo, superstitious, but did not like sharing it with outsiders. Run cross country in high school because I am scrawny, and there is nothing else to do in Farmington besides meth and football. Go to meet in Gallup. This is near Window Rock, which is big to Navajos because it was their capital once. Big in their mythology, part of their creation. Anyways, going to and from the meet requires traveling a long-ass unlit 2-lane highway through Navajo lands in a shitty school bus from the 1970s with 20 other high schoolers. We are heading back at night and have been for like an hour. Pitch black out, near new moon, middle of nowhere. I am trying to listen to music when the bus lurches. Look at what our driver/coach is doing. Notice something in the headlights. Looks like a coyote or something, but standing on 2 legs. Running at 60 miles an hour, bobbing in and out of the headlights. 2 of our Mexicans are saying the Lord's Prayer in Spanish. Look down. Try to avoid looking and sort of joining in on the praying. Bus is maxing out. Pedal to the metal. Look up after about 2 minutes of this going on as it is. See it directly to our left keeping pace, running up and down a small hill. Looks at bus. Swear to Jesus it made eye contact with me. Bright green, inhuman eyes catch the moon, like a dog's eyes in a camera flash. Blood turns to ice. It stands on a small hill, watching the bus and gets back down on 4 legs. Get back to town, tell my dad. He tells our Navajo friends. Friend's father comes over and burns sage, spreading the ashes around our home. Never mention it at school to anybody.
B18 in the middle of nowhere, Australia. Father says he has got about 400 head of cattle to drive about 2 days up north and needs another man. Seems like a good ride and a chance to camp out. Everything was fine the first day. It was more like a camping trip than actual work anyways. Pull up stumps the first night. There were 7 of us on the ride. Me, my dad, and a few uncles and cousins. Me being the youngest one there. We usually keep 2 guys on watch while the others sleep, just to make sure the cattle do not spook or anything like that. Cattle looking really on edge. Decided to have 2 men on watch and 1 on a horse. It was a pretty well moonlit night, so if they ran, we could give chase pretty well. Me and my dad on watch. 1 other bloke, who we will call Harry, on horseback, just plodding up and down around the front of the herd. All of a sudden hear a stock whip crack and cattle spook. At this point in time, my memory fails me, but I still swear to this day I heard the whip crack before the cattle moved. Anyways, we wake the guys up and mustered up the herd. We had camped pretty out in the open, so it was not that much of a task. Everything settles down when we realize that Harry did not come back to camp. Figure he must be off chasing some strays or something. Go to sleep. Others take watch. Morning comes. Harry is back. Does not say a word about the night before, only mumbles the words "better night tonight" under his breath over and over again. Start off again in the morning. Harry driving up the rear, me and my old man on the wing, and everyone else doing their thing. My mind is still racing about last night. Make camp for the next night when we realize Harry had fucked off again. Words like bloody drunk and fucking moron were thrown around as we dig into dinner. Much quieter night tonight. Cattle settle in fine and we all get some needed rest. Except Harry, who is still missing at this point. Finish the trip off in the morning. Make it to the next station when my old man gets a call. I will never forget his face. It went white as snow. Turns out Harry's vanishing act was a bit more impressive than we had expected. I am not sure what was said in that phone call, but I had never seen my dad look the way he did that day. He sat us down and told us all what happened. I wish I could remember the exact words, but it went something along the lines of, "Harry's dead. He went home after the first night, rode his horse to death, shot 200 head of his own cattle and turned the gun on himself. Happened last night." Now I'm not sure if what happened that night had anything to do with the night before or if I'm simply over-dramatizing the death of a messed-up old man. But I'll tell you honestly, something was not right that night, and the way he mumbled those words the next morning still sends shivers up my spine.
Be me at 14, camping out down by friend's property in Australia. Not really viable farming land, so mostly recreational aside from the odd olive plant or potatoes. Riding in his dad's disco Land Rover Discovery. Middle of nowhere, so my friend is driving, his dad back at camp sleeping, sitting on the tray with a .308 Forget model pretty generic bolt gun, bumping around, ambient noise of engine and things in tray bouncing, cannot really hear anything else. Slowly goes really quiet. The car is still running, but was like I could hear everything in the surrounding bush. Getting a little creeped out, eerie sort of bush noises. Try to shake it off. Continue driving a kilometer or so until we get to this old barn that we had never seen before. Friend and I hop out of the disco and make our way to the barn door, have rifle on my back. Padlock on both doors, but there is space to crawl in. Friend goes prone and crawls in. As his legs disappear into the barn, he starts screaming. Practically shit myself. Friend rolls out of the door so fucking fast, nearly knocks me over. Dude, there is something in there. Fucking glowing eyes. Something standing in there, it tried to scratch me. Getting pretty on edge by now, not sure what to say. Decide we get in disco and head home. Just before hopping in, see a silhouette peering at us from around the barn. Eyes with the creepiest reflection of the moon. Fucking kill it, dude. Fiddle with the rifle to get it off my back. pull bolt back. All the fucking cartridges just come out of the magazine on the floor. Fuck it, let's go. Friend has already started the car and is throwing it in first. Jump in and ride back to camp in silence. Too scared to talk. Talked to friend the next day, and we decided to go back to the barn to try and find out what happened and recover the ammo I lost. Friend grabs his dad's SMLA and I take the .308 again. Drive over, watching every bush and tree for creepy thing we saw last night. See nothing. Arrive at the barn, find bullets in the dirt, and pocket them. Friend and I charged weapons and prepared to bust into the barn. He bought a screwdriver and planned to remove a wall panel. I keep watch as my friend unscrews the panel. Taking forever. Get that feeling I had like yesterday in the car. Hear everything in surroundings. Rustling in the scrub to our right. Raise rifle. Scanning bushes. Can see something behind foliage. Cannot make it out. Thing starts moving. Fucking kangaroo. Really distinct movement. A few minutes later, my friend is done with the panel and asks me to help him dislodge it from the barn wall. Both pry it off the frame to discover the hideous beast that is inside. Another fucking kangaroo. We put 2 and 2 together to figure out that we were ambushed by kangaroos last night after friend had crawled right into where one was sleeping. Kangaroo in barn, like what the fuck? Just chewing something. Shout to it to fuck off. Ended up shooting at it for it to flee because it was a cheeky bastard and kept chewing. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Australia.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.